Hello everybody, I'm Ryan, and today we're going to talk about the vintage metagame over the course of the past week on Magic Online, because that's where the vintage tournaments happen. And as with all my metagames, this is technically a winner's metagame, because Magic Online only posts the top 32s of challenges, but that's okay, because I think it's still reflective of the overall metagame. Let's look at it. At the top is Raker Shops. By quite a bit, there's quite a large gap after Raker Shops. Sharing second and third is Sphere Shops and Dredge. And then in fourth is the Dimir Lurrus control deck. If you want to look at this graph a little bit longer, feel free to pause the video. We're going to talk about Dimir Lurrus control. The Dimir Lurrus control deck plays most of the restricted cards in Vintage, ramping their mana with Moxen and Black Lotus, and really just being a tempo deck. I'm not really sure why this is called a control deck. It plays draw spells, counter magic, answering their opponent 1-for-1 with those draw spells and counter magic, and then attempting to defeat their opponent with Orcish Bowmasters and Psychic Frog, both incredibly powerful threats in this format. And then if the game goes super, super long, you're running Lurrus that you can cast, be able to recast Black Lotus and Orcish Bowmasters and Psychic Frogs and Mishra's Bauble and things like that to extend your lead if it isn't answered. Dredge is the Bazaar Baghdad deck. They use Serum, Powder, and a lot of mulligans to make sure Bazaar Baghdad is always in their opening hand, and then they use that to discard cards as fast as possible, and then dredge them when they draw cards either for their turn or off of Bazaar Baghdad with like Golgari Thug and Steekweed Imp, and then be able to put things onto the battlefield for free with Narcomoeba, Prized Amalgam, Icarid, dealing a bunch of damage incidentally with Creeping Chill. All of this is protected with counter magic like Force of Negation and Force of Will, and with hand destruction like Grief. And then on top of that, because you're playing Bazaar Baghdad and can select the cards that you discard, you're able to play Hollow One to cast additional cards for free. Sphere Shops is a sort of like Prison Shops. It's playing the artifact where spells cost one more to cast, and that is not going to matter for us because we're playing a bunch of like tempo positive cards because we're ramping our mana so fast with like Ancient Tomb and whatnot. So we're able to play like Patchwork Automaton, a bunch of like Moxen, and a bunch of things to just make it difficult for our opponent to play Magic at all and be able to win the game while our opponent is stumbling because of all of our hateful artifacts. And then the most popular deck in Vintage by a pretty large margin is the Raker Shops deck. So it's doing something similar to Sphere, except it's playing Glaring Flesh Raker instead, which means whenever you cast a colorless spell, you get a Scion, and whenever a colorless thing enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to their opponent. So it can deal a lot of damage all at once, especially since a lot of the cards in our deck are like cheap or free and colorless. And then while they're attempting to deal with that giant threat, we have the Manifold Key combo where we can continue to make a ridiculous amount of mana and not necessarily go infinite, but go infinite enough where Glaring Flesh Raker triggers can often kill our opponents with untapping stuff like the One Ring to draw more cards, untapping Grim Monolith to get more mana, etc., triggering Glaring Flesh Raker a ridiculous amount of times. But that is the Vintage metagame. If you liked this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on social medias. Links are above me and in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.